Hi everybody, this is just going to be a really quick newsletter to give you guys an idea of what we've been doing over the last few weeks. It's been some time since I sent out the last newsletter, and I just want to let you guys know what has been happening, and I'm going to just try to hit the main points and not put in too many details just to keep this to be a short newsletter. But there has been a ton of stuff that we have been doing, and it would take a lot of time to explain everything. But first off, just shortly after our last newsletter, I traveled to Nigeria for a couple of weeks, and I traveled with the pastor of the church that we've been attending here in Colorado that is very close to my parents' house. And it turns out that we have some mutual contacts with this church over in Nigeria, and those people are primarily trying to reach the Fulani people, which is, if I'm not mistaken, is the largest nomadic unreached people group in the world. So we thought it was beneficial for me to travel with this pastor to help them coordinate their efforts in that endeavor, and also to see how our school, our staff and students, can participate with them in order to reach the Fulani people. It was a very fruitful time. I had a great time getting to know the pastor of this church a little bit better. We were also able to travel to our home in Baliri, and I was able to meet with some groups of people in order to start this process of transferring the leadership of the school from us to this other organization that we have been talking about. Now, when I came back from Nigeria, the very day that I arrived, Cindy was already on her way to a different conference, and this conference is called the Thrive Conference, which is intended specifically for female missionaries. It's a time of debriefing, a time of refreshing and encouragement and counseling. And she spent about 3 days there. I'm really hoping that in the near future she can give a report of some of the things that she encountered during those few days. When she came back from that conference, we had just a few days together as a family, and then I went to a conference in Canada. This was for the Fellowship of Christian Assemblies. That's the denomination that our home church on Long Island is a part of. So a lot of pastors and missionaries are there. Once again, it is a time of refreshing and encouragement, but at the same time, for me, it was a good time just to connect with a lot of those pastors. As you guys know, we are going to be relocating back to the U.S. next year. We're trying to decide if we want to follow the path of ministry or if I should go back into engineering. And right now, it's very, very undecided, but going to this conference was a good opportunity to meet with other pastors around the country. When I came back from that conference in Canada, the very next day, our family started driving towards Long Island. There's the missions convention that our home church on Long Island has every single year. Along the way, we picked up Jillian, and we spent a couple of weeks on Long Island going to the annual missions convention. After that, we drove back here to Colorado. This is where we are right now. We have been frantically scurrying around to acquire all of the materials that we want to take to Nigeria for this last year of ministry there, as well as trying to figure out where we want to store all of this stuff that we've been accumulating over the last few months since we decided finally that we were going to relocate back to the U.S. So when we went to Nigeria, we got rid of almost all of our stuff, or took gradually, trip by trip, everything over to Nigeria. And so about a year ago, we had almost nothing here, and we've been accumulating things over the last months, and we're trying to figure out how to pack those up and where to store them, because my parents don't really want all those things in their house. They kind of like it to be open for the next year. Before I round up this newsletter, I just want to give a quick financial update. I mentioned in the previous newsletter that we were trying to raise $17,000, and I'm happy to say that we have knocked that down from that amount to the amount of $14,000. So we've made some good progress, but we still have a long way to go. So if any of you are watching this and you've been following us over the last 11 years and thinking one of these days we're going to support the Black family, well, this is a really good opportunity for that, because your time is running out. We just have a little bit less than a year left. As I mentioned in the last newsletter, this is the amount that we are trying to raise to cover ministry expenses and personal expenses, so that in a year from now, when we relocate back to the U.S., we are going to have hopefully the same amount of money in our bank account as when we left for Nigeria. If you want to know more specifics about what these amounts are designated for, you can watch our previous newsletter, because I went into that in great detail. Thank you very much. Have a good day.